My presentation is on equal pay among men and women's national soccer team. Um, some background info. The women's national soccer team has been fighting for equal pay since 2012. That was the second World Cup that they won. I'm not sure. That's when I started, 2012. But there's been a string of lawsuits, and it's followed a string of successful seasons plus long postseason runs. Um, the women wanted more pay for their postseason efforts compared to the men. The women have sued the United States Soccer Federation a couple different times, and the most recent one that was just dismissed was for gender discrimination. The judge overseeing the case denied the lawsuit because there were no grounds that constituted gender discrimination in the pay. Uh, this is the women and men's pay structure. This is their labor agreements that they, as a team, set with the United States Soccer Federation. So the reason that we see these lawsuits is because this right here, this margin, whenever they win in the postseason, whenever they win the World Cup in the postseason, and there's a reason why it looks like this. First off, the men are play to pay. Um, They do not have any benefits. They get all their money from playing. They're injured. They don't play. They don't get paid. Um, so this is all. The labor agreements were set by the men and women's team, respectively, with the soccer federation. But this right here is the only thing we'll ever cover in the news. Anything you see about this is the only thing that's covered. It's the only thing that's brought up in all the court cases. But as we'll see further in the presentation, the actual structures of their pay. So this is the women's pay structure. As you know, as I just said, the men are pretty easy. They are um, play to pay, and if they don't play, they don't get paid. The women, on the other hand, they get revenue from playing, but also they get these benefits, these packages that is covered by the U.S. Soccer Federation, whereas the men don't have this. This is covered by their respective clubs, and it is not the same as this. So the women, all the women on the national soccer team get this. So they get the 20 players, the base salary of 100K, and 11 more players for the national women's soccer team that get a salary of 62,000 to 67,000. One-time signing bonus of 230,000 and ticket revenue, and then all this other stuff respectively. You can look through it. But the men don't get this. All this stuff right here, the men do not get this. That's why whenever you saw the huge discrepancy in the way the pay structure is set up for postseason, mainly, is because of this right here. The men get none of this. And what the women were wanting, and what they are wanting right now, is they want all of these benefits, all of these, plus what the men make in salary only, in money. So that's the grounds for their lawsuit for gender discrimination. But if we look at the total payout of 2018 season, all of these charts and everything are from the 2018 season. We see that the men only made 18 million in total pay and 212,000 per game, whereas the women made 24 million in one season and 220,000 per game. Now, you can't really go off these numbers because if the men were good, they would have made more, but they're not. The men's soccer team is not very good. The women's soccer team is very good. So what the women are wanting is they want the men's structure. So they would have made twice as much as they did in this payout right here. They would have made twice as much, and still they want the all the benefits. So why is this important? There are jobs that actually have pay gaps. And now, when you look at this, you can totally see, okay, there's a pay gap. But, I mean, you can't just point your finger at one specific thing and say, hey, there's a pay gap, whenever really you don't have the facts straight and you actually get paid more. So the men are actually getting paid less. And if there's any grounds for gender discrimination, it'd be the men. But that's not the argument. This is a prime example of how not to address or deal with the issue. They are just screaming very loud and pointing their finger at one thing, and that's not how to deal with this. That's not how to deal with a pay gap, pay inequality. I'm not saying don't be loud. I'm not saying don't be heard, but make sure you have solid evidence and you know the facts, and you can prove anything you say, and you can also disprove anything anyone else is saying against you. Who is this? Who is most impacted? People going into fields that are predominantly one gender. I'm not saying this is guaranteed, but that's where it could be seen the most. And us, our generation. Our generation, we're seeing a lot more people venturing off into fields that are dominated by one gender. So women are venturing off into fields that are dominated by men, and men are doing vice versa. I mean, I'm going into nursing. I mean, I make up 8% of the workforce in nursing. So, what can college students do about it? What can we do about it? Be aware um, of your job, like what you're doing. So the more you know about what you're getting into can help protect you from this circumstance.